Hey yo, welcome to ancient Rome. Forget gladiator clout and Caesar drama. We're in the real trenches, once again. The farmlands. Rome's whole empire core, well, like always, built on grains and back pain. And guess who kept that bread coming? You're right, farmers. These muddy, sunburned legends fed the capital, the border bros, and all the toga influencers. But history barely gave them screen time. So who were these soil goblins? Did they own land or just lease it from some estate sigma? Let's dive in and meet the original peasant NPCs who made Rome eat.
Yeah, boy.
And for those who don't know, welcome to Chronos History, where we break down the greatest moments in history and turn them into greater stories. Whether you're bored, learning, or somewhere in between, we've got something cooked up for you to keep you entertained. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Farming life came in flavors. Free, semi-free, and oops, you're a slave now.
Okay.
Where you lived and how you got your land decided if you were winning or just crying in the cabbage fields. The term farmer included everyone from small land chads to debt-ridden individuals to straight-up field slaves. One job, a million sad vibes. Early Empire Italy had some old-school homesteaders, descendants of those Republican soldier farmers. They had their own plots, fundus, and worked them solo. But by Augustus's reign, they started disappearing. Latifundia, which are mega farms, taxes, debt traps, and slave-powered competition all pulled up like yoink, and many got pushed into renting or worse. Loads of farmers just leased land from the state, cities, or elite landlords. Rent was paid in coins or crops. In the provinces, tenant law was absolute chaos. You never quite knew if you were free or legally farm furniture.
Nice.
By the 3rd century, coloni were rising, technically free but stuck to the land like glue. They owned labor, harvest, and loyalty to the estate boss. They couldn't move, couldn't dip, and definitely couldn't vibe. Big Italian estates were full of slaves doing all the heavy agri-lifting. In the East, slaves were used more for elite crops like wine grapes, olives, luxury lettuce. But regardless, either way, zero pay, all pain. Now let's talk about the farming tier list. Italy was all about small farmers that got bullied out. Rich landlords and latifundia took over, and the colonist life became the default. Gaul and Spain still had some free peasants holding it down, but Roman landlord culture was slowly creeping in. Egypt had farmers that were basically state-owned. Think less of landowner and more of government pet project. Now, in North Africa, land was hoarded. Tenants and coloni ran the show under mega wealthy landlords. And Syria and Asia were a legal salad bar. Roman, Greek, and local laws collided into one confusing farm simulator. Farming kept Rome fed, armies stocked, and taxes flowing. But the actual farmers, they were perma-broke. Their work was vital, but valued like old sandals. I feel like we've seen this somewhere before. Most farmers were just trying not to die. They grew stuff for themselves and maybe sold the extra if they had enough. Big estates dominated the markets though, so prices were absolute trash. No tools, no animals, and you were doomed. And on top of that, farmers had to pay taxes. Loads of taxes, like the land tax. Why? Because you exist. The poll tax, well, because you still exist. And sometimes you paid a bonus random gift to feed the army.
Oh, it's a tax collector! Hey there, SpongeBob!
Tax collectors, aka the publicani, were like loan sharks with scrolls. Miss a payment and you can kiss your farm bye-bye. From the 1st to the 3rd centuries, rich elites were out here collecting land like NFTs. Small farmers couldn't keep up. They lost their plots and ended up renting from the same dudes who bought them out. Generational wealth turned into generational debt. As awful as that sounds. Tenants in colony owed part of their harvests too, had to work on the landowner's estate and still pay taxes. By the 4th century, being a colonist was just one upgrade away from being a slave. Freedom, very optional, and pay, barely. Yeah, you heard that right, no wages, just scraps from the field. Most peasants pulled maybe 100 to 300 sesterces a year, if nothing went wrong. A city day laborer made that in a couple of weeks. Their expenses, food, taxes, and tool repairs. Clothes, shoes, or even salt were an absolute luxury. And livestock, a fantasy. Good years meant selling surplus. Bad years meant debt traps or selling your last sheep to survive. One plague or drought and boom, you're poor, landless, and probably colonist core now. So back in the Republic days, if you owned land, you were eligible for honor and glory, aka leave your farm and go die in Gaul. Farmers made up most of the army, unpaid and unsupported. And when they finally came back, yep, farms ruined, land sold, and guess who is now a tenant on their own ex-land? Yep, you. That's the dirt-core life of a Roman farmer in the Empire. Want to continue to their spicy downfall or maybe transition to medieval proto-serfdom? Just say the word. I'll keep time traveling with you. So boom, late 2nd century BCE, and this dude Marius shows up like, let the broke boys enlist. Now anyone could join the army, no land required. State gave you gear, pay, and snacks. That freed some small-time farmers, but the legions started filling up with dudes who had nothing to lose and everything to gain, totally loyal to their generals, and not the Republic. By the early Empire, Italy's farmers mostly dodged the draft, but out in the provinces, local officials were like, congrats, you're in the army now. Whether you agreed or not. Farmers got yanked from their fields for 20 to 25 years with the promise of land and citizenship after. For some, that was a glow up. For their families, no dad, no labor, and no dinner. Come the 4th and 5th centuries, Rome's borders were on fire, so they brought back forced service. Some coloni even had their sons auto-drafted by birth.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But if you were lucky, they would just tax you more instead, because someone still had to grow the grain. Now let's talk about the daily life, and life as a Roman peasant was just nature's version of the 9 to 5.
I don't wanna work, I just wanna bang on this mug all day.
You woke up with the sun, worked till dusk, and passed out in a one-room dirt cube with your goats. Villages and farmsteads were the vibe, however. Houses made of mud, wood, or stone with thatched roofs, dirt floors, and maybe one straw mattress, but that is if you were living large. Meals were depression meals. Porridge, beans, flatbread. Wine was watered down, meat was rare, and sweets were seasonal miracles. Now, if your goat died, congrats, it's feast time. Otherwise, it was veggies and vibes. Your days started with animal duty, then field work. Women ran the home, cooking, weaving, and yelling at kids. Now kids helped too. No Roblox, just real life chores. In winter, men fixed tools and patched houses. Tools were basic: wooden plows, sickles, and stone grinders. Oxen and donkeys were your Ubers. Irrigation only popped off in places like Egypt or Syria. Elsewhere, you just had to hope the rain gods weren't beefing with you. Social life revolved around family, neighbors, and maybe a temple. Depends if you had one. People worshipped old spirits, threw small festivals for harvests or solstices, and traded at markets when they could. School? Silly question, but they were walking encyclopedias of farming hacks passed down for generations. Politically, peasants were benched. In the Republic days, small landowners could vote, serve, and pick leaders. But after Marius led the landless into the military and civil wars wrecked everything, the rural vote got nerfed hard. Then Augustus showed up like it's empire time and killed off any illusion of people power. Assemblies became theater. The Senate was just a group chat for rich guys. Provinces got run by Caesar's interns. Most rural folks weren't even citizens until Caracalla handed out the free Roman citizenship for all DLC in 212 CE.
Thank you, Daddy.
Spoiler, it didn't change anything. Villagers still had some low-level power. Elders managed stuff, collected taxes, and kept order. A few rich peasants got into town councils, but that was very rare. Mostly, farmers followed orders and prayed taxes wouldn't get worse. Eventually, the peasants said, "No rights, no votes, cool, we're just gonna revolt." Some dipped from their farms, some refused taxes, and some joined rebellions, especially by the 3rd to 5th centuries. It wasn't politics, just pure survival mode. Rome sometimes responded with bribes or crackdowns. Either way, the system was clearly creaking. By the empire's later days, farmers were the backbone, doing all the work and getting none of the credit, like always. Some still owned land, but many became tenants or coloni, locked to their soil. Money, very scarce. Wages, another silly question. One bad harvest and you were toast. Politics ignored them, education skipped them, but they were the ones keeping Rome alive, generation after generation, planting crops while emperors made speeches. They were the silent backbone, the dirt-covered MVPs of the Roman grind. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment if you think you could survive a Colosseum battle. And until next time, see you again on Chronos History.